Hey everyone, welcome to another top 10 list. This week's top 10 list is only going to be 5 notes, but that's a good thing because we're talking about the new price guide coming out. That, of course, would be Paper Money of the United States 23rd edition. And yes, I already told you guys that I got mine spiral bound. They do not come this way. You have to take your book. That's why I always get the soft cover, by the way. You have to take your book to a printer, and the printer will drill the holes and put the binder in there so that you can take the book and lay it flat. It makes it so much easier to read, so much easier to do research. And as you use the book, pages don't start popping out. Anyway, the new book came out, and we had to check prices. So last week I did the top 10 notes that had gained the most value. These are the top 5 notes that have lost value. So let's get into these. Let's see what we've got. Number 5 this week. This is an 1862 $1 legal tender. This one grades 15. This is the first year that the U.S. government printed money. 1862 was the first year that we had done this. Prior to this, it was obsolete banks printing money, and that made it ridiculously hard to tell what banks were still around, what banks were still good. So the government stepped in. That and the Civil War, this also helped fund the Civil War. That is where we came up with the 1862 legal tenders. Now, these should be ridiculously collectible. This particular one is in a grade 15. It's listed as repaired. I don't see any damage to the note, so I'm assuming it got the repairs by being cleaned and pressed. That's generally what happens when you get a note that looks really good but grades really poorly. If this wasn't in the case, you can tell by how, I don't want to say how limp the paper is, because you're never going to get the stiffness back in the paper, but how flat it feels because of the being pressed. And of course, it's unnaturally clean. Anyway, when this note made my list, I have to find it on here because I don't have them in the proper order. When this initially made my list, I called it in my original video, this note booking at $1,000. I already told you how I did the breakdown. If the note, like this one, is graded 15, they don't list a grade of 15 in the price guide. They list a 12 and they list a 20. So I took halfway between the price of a 12 and a 20, and then half of that again. So a quarter of the way between the price of a 12 and the price of a 20, and that's how I came up with the price. And based on that formula, this note was $1,000. It is now $918, and that means it had dropped in value $82. So number 5 this week, the 1862, graded 15 at minus 82. Number 4. This is going to be a temporary price drop, I am sure. It's a big price drop, but it's going to be temporary. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the case anyway. This is a 1928, let's see right there, 1928 $5 star note. This is the first year that they ever made notes this size. You can tell by the 3, the digit for the district, and it's a star. It has the large filled stars. Those are just so cool like that. Anyway, this particular note, when I did my original video, it came out as a $500 note, and with the new book, that $500 price dropped to $400. So this one is down $100. And I think, like I said, that's going to be temporary because with them no longer printing stars, everybody's trying to get a hold of the stars. So we'll have to wait for the next book to come out before we see a more accurate price on the star notes. Like I said, it was a recent development with stars starting to disappear and them not being printed anymore. So it doesn't quite reflect in the price guide's prices. That's why you see this one going from $500 to $400. So that one is number 4. Number 3, back to the 1862 series. What I'm assuming is that there are more of the 1862 series out there than were first thought. I think that would explain the downgrade in price, because if there are more of these out there, that makes the interest in them, well, the interest in them is immense because it is the first year that they had them, but that means they are also easy to get a hold of because they are fairly common. My assumption, that's all that is. There's a lot of new collectors getting into the field, which you think would increase the demand, but if there are enough of these, that would drive down the price. People trying to sell theirs before their neighbor sells theirs. Anyway, the 1862 $1 legal tender book on this one, according to my other video, was $1,400. With the new price guide coming out, even at a 35, I had to do my funky math on that, and it came up to $1,275. That means it's down about $125. So that one is number 3, the 1862 $1 legal tender. Number 2. This one was kind of a surprise to me. This is the 1886 $5 silver certificate known as the Morgenbach. The Morgenbach, one of the cooler notes you're ever going to find, since it has the coins on the back of the note like that. This particular one grades at a 15. I've told you guys the stories of this one before. Last video, last price guide, this note was in the $2,000 range in this particular grade, and it did happen to drop. What did it do? It dropped a little bit in this new book, and it now comes out to $1,750 for a total drop of $250. So the Morgenbach, still $1,750, still a great deal for me based on what I paid on it. But yeah, it's down $250 this particular time. That one is number 2. And finally, number 1. Another star note. Once again, I told you the story on star notes. The prices are going to be going up on these because with them no longer printing star notes, these are going to be in demand. Unfortunately, the price guide didn't show that because the announcement has been fairly late and they had probably already printed the prices. So look for these to be a huge bump. If you have the ability to pick up some of these now that the prices temporarily dropped, it'd be a good time to do so. This particular one is, where is it? The 1928 $10 star note, $10 star note here. This one was $750 according to the last price guide. This time when the price guide came out, that $750, maybe it's a misprint. You never know. But it was down to $400, which means this one lost $350 in value over the course of those 3 years. Is that going to stay that way? I highly doubt it. Was it a misprint? Maybe. That's always an explanation. But we shall see in another 3 years when the next price guide comes out. So like I said, that one was negative $350. Do I want to take a quick peek at these? Yeah, let's see. Let's give it a rundown here. I've got 250 and 125 is 375. We'll call that 450, 550, 650, 750, 8. $900 is what these had dropped in total. I knew that the plus column from last week was over 3,000. This is only 900. So I easily have a net gain comparing these to what I showed last week. So I'm still way up on my collection, and maybe I'll do a video showing what I actually paid for some of these so I can see how I did my price versus what they're currently worth. All right, guys, if you learned anything new, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. Love reading all your comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.